Do you guys want to talk a little bit about the world of operator podcasts and associated media?
I feel like this is an operator podcast. Like, obviously, you guys aren't in the service anymore, but you guys deal with issues of life and death, and sometimes just life in America.
I was a drummer boy for a short period of time.
yeah. I played
the fife and drums.
I was part of a Bakabazi pilot program with Air Force forward operators.
You know that I had a great grandfather who his job in the Russian Imperial Army was piano player.
That's wow.
That's the most Jewish shit. Well, I guess the most Jewish shit in the Russian Empire is just being like killed.
Yeah,
but that's the second. That's like the second most Jewish thing is to be the army piano player. That's awesome.
The
piano player, like, how did that even work? Like, a piano isn't mobile.
Yeah, but like,
they move him on a palanquin.
But a lot of times, like, I think you were just like in the camp for a while, and so they probably had one there, or maybe you loot it. You know, like you'd have to like go like it's like how seals have to like eat a berry sometimes. Like, you know, you go find a piano in fucking Gdansk, and send Mr.
Those boys aren't going to
Biederman.
dance by themselves.
Maybe it was like a cool, like the Irishman type euphemism. Like in Russia, do you paint houses is do you play piano?
I heard you play piano.
Because it meant that you would go on a mission to requisition a piano from like a Volga German.
It's funny we're talking about dancing boys because one of the big like former Navy SEAL media figures is this guy Robert O'Neill, and he was one of the guys who like lied about being the first guy to kill bin Laden. He's sort of like been ostracized from the SEAL Team 6 community, but he was the guy who did that post where there was like a bunch of like teenage boys who were like, we're men for Harris, we're voting for Harris. And he was the one that made the post that said, if it wasn't for social media, you would be my concubines.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting because first of all, I mean, pause, obviously, first of all, but like, for like, it does imply like he would have done it like 25 years ago.
Right.
Like, I think the implication he's trying to make is like,
it's like,
you know,
2000. Like, if civilization broke down, I would make you my sex slave. But it was just like, if we were living in the time before AOL, I would definitely also do that.
Well,
like
1987.
He's saying he rape teenage boys and enslave them.
Well, he's saying the only thing that's stopping him is like someone will do a call out thread that's like, "Hey, y'all, this Navy SEAL is raping all the Kamala Harris, the boys for Kamala."
Doing an Instagram post, be like, "Hey, so Dean is okay, but Dean Withers, but you know, this guy Robert O'Neill, I think he's moving around. I think he's in Portland right now, and he's doing shows at a crusty house there."
He's performing at DIY SEAL shows.
Yeah. I just know he's in a lot of y'all's spaces and like he's friends with a lot of y'all and you guys tolerate abusers and the SEALs community is done tolerating abusers. I'll say this. Name me one Navy SEAL who has come out publicly and like talked about that. A Navy SEAL I would have heard of who is not just O'Neill's a SEAL, right? It was the SEALs that did that. I mean,
he was a former Navy SEAL who was part of the 2011 raid on Osama bin Laden's compound in Pakistan, has doubled down on making Kamala Harris voters his concubines.
Well, the voters in general implies it'd be everybody. But I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, I guess I don't really get it. I thought that like, by killing bin Laden, we were done with all that. But this guy it was
in response to the TikTok star Harry Sisson, who I believe we've talked about on the show.
And the thing is, Harry Sisson was himself like, y'all, he's not welcome in these spaces anymore because he was talking to too many girls on Snapchat.
Oh yeah, Harry Sisson got Me Too'd for like getting a 3-second photo of a boob.
He got Me Too for seeing too many girls in the dog ears and tongue filter. Literally, I saw, talk about, this is 2017 for right wingers. I saw one of those like, ladies who's like, I'm a trad e-girl who's 39. So, disgusting beanie wearer, by the way, if you had any doubts. And they wear the big ass beanies too.
Yeah. God, nothing grosser than a woman in a giant beanie.
Carhartt.
oh Jesus, no, worse than that.
Yeah.
It has a little fucking palm on the.
And they're
God,
fuzzy.
fucking burn it. Oh my God, blow her fucking house up. Disgusting. Ugh. But anyway, she was like, y'all, I'm a survivor of this type of emotional abuse where a guy says he's the only one talking to you, but he's talking to 8 other girls. It's like talking on Snapchat. First of all, you predate Snapchat, but like you were already out of college. Like
it would be illegal for you to use Snapchat. Like if I found Snapchat on your phone, I would suspect you were a pedophile.
Yeah. But he I don't know. I root for all those Biden Harris twinks, even though I know I really shouldn't, because I feel like 99% of the response to them is like, fucking kill yourself. I just got off Suboxone. I'm going to rape you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like just crazy.
Well,
like,
Felix,
wait till illegal kills your family. And then 1% is people who are like, I'm the only liberal in my family of, fucking Greg Abbott voters. And I love your video about how we should tax the rich 1% more. So I root for them.
Well, just a follow up here. This is the Robert O'Neill's comments. He says here, on the morning of Election Day, November 5th, O'Neill posted a 1-minute video on X in an effort to clear things up. This is him clearing up his comments about how he would make the young men for Harris into his concubines. He says, Sisson might be the most beta male on the planet. Well, I mean, shit, he's still getting Snapchats, so not bad. I says, 3 or 4 of his cunty little friends got together and put on a thing that said that real men vote for Harris, O'Neill said in his video addressing the situation. What I meant with that is, yeah, you would be. You don't know how to fight, and basically, I do whatever I want with you. That's all I meant.
But it's like I get what you're saying there. Like, you are much bigger than Harry Sisson or whatever, but it sort of distracts from the message when the thing that you want is to forcibly have gay sex with him. And it does take away a little bit from the alpha, I'm alpha, he's beta thing. And I guess there is sort of a Roman-esque kind of thing about it. But even Robert O'Neill is also famous for shooting a guy that was like Jimmy Carter's age.
He
his
had a chance to rape Osama bin Laden, and he botched it.
Exactly. And he kind of could have. He could have gotten away with it too, but body cam off. But I never really understood, because the Bin Laden raid was like kind of famously like they fucked it up. Like Navy SEALs number one thing that they kind of like to do on operation is crash a helicopter by any means necessary. That is mission critical, as we say in the service, is that like that bird's got to go down.
Like
and all they kind of did,
that was it, the Tucker Gar incident, which is a big thing that comes up in these sort of the Navy SEAL podcast world, because basically it was like the helicopter pilot managed to like land the helicopter in a way that didn't kill everyone, but like they sort of shit on this guy because he did something heroic and he's not a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, that's like one of their big things is that like they don't like it when other people get recognized. Obviously, Navy SEALs have to work alongside like other
branches
Marines
of the military,
or armies or Rangers or whatever. Yeah, and they really don't like it when someone else does something that people think is cool.
Oh yeah, there is a lot of like, I don't know. I see that in every like military video. And I always just think, like, if this is the rule of, like, might makes right, like, then pilots are the best. Well, like, they can just blow them all up. And, like, in fact, every Navy SEAL where there's, like, an actually, like, verified thing, like, they did this. It's a story of, like, a time when, like, the pilots were late by 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And they're like, it was the scariest thing that ever happened. The F-16s weren't there and couldn't kill everyone who was in front of me.
Well, with the Tucker Gar incident, from what I understand, and it's very controversial in this world, like the deal is that like a guy falls out of the helicopter, like, which is generally you don't want to do that.
You want to stay in one of those vehicles.
Yeah,
to be fair, I think the helicopter had been hit with an RPG or something.
Yeah, but come on,
you still want to stay inside.
Yeah, you want
ideally, yes,
by any means necessary, stay in that motherfucker. But there's like a thing where there was I think it was an Air Force, like Ford or whatever air guy, like one of the guys who calls in airstrikes that's embedded with the SEALs. Cause that's like how I think a lot of people get Air Force. They have like an Air Force guy with them. But who's like the badass Air Force guy. Because he's got a gun. Ones. And he goes, one guy, he gets like wounded, I think actually killed. And he goes to check on the guy with a couple other people. He gets shot. And then everyone just leaves him there. and they're like, oh, he's dead. Just leave him. And the SEALs themselves call in these airstrikes. And it turns out the guy isn't dead. And there's this drone footage of him engaging like, close quarters fighting with a few guys, and killing them. And he was put up for a Medal of Honor, and the SEALs tried to get it denied.
Okay, yeah, it wasn't a helicopter pilot. It was the Air Force guy that they excluded him from some sort of honorific because they left him to die, and then he like fought 3 guys off barehanded or something like that.
Yeah, and so like they come back to rescue him. He goes out to and he's wounded, and he goes out to lay covering fire for the other helicopter. And he's killed while doing that. And they try to squash. I mean, he was up for a Medal of Honor, and they try to squash it. And eventually this footage comes out from a drone that actually shows it happening, pretty incontrovertibly. And it causes a bit of a sensation. I guess I don't really understand. Maybe it's like a weird thing about being in the Navy, but like the Navy SEALs seem to just really be disliked by even all of the other insane, murderer, rapist, JSOC kind of people.
Yeah. I talked to Seth Harp about this, Brace, because I have heard that. And you've seen that case of those Navy SEALs that were moving coke.
Yeah.
They were assigned to AFRICOM, and they were moving coke in, I forget what country it was in, but a Green Beret saw that and was like, hey, what the fuck? We're not on Bragg. I'm going to report you guys.
Hey, can I get a bump?
Yeah. They fucking killed him. They tried to just rear naked choke him to I don't know, take gay photos of him to be like, if you tell anyone, we'll say you're gay. But they killed him because you could very easily kill someone by cutting off the blood circulation to their carotid artery that way. And they tried to cover it up. But the common perception among even other JSOC guys is that SEALs are, before this modern era where they became sort of the tip of the spear for the American empire, where they replaced James Jesus Angleton types, it was that they were constantly stealing. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're familiar with Dick Marcinko, the sort of founder.
The founder, yeah.
He author of a hilarious book, Rogue Warrior, and the voice and inspiration for an even more hilarious game called Rogue Warrior. He was the founder of SEAL Team 6. He was an officer. He, was the highest clearance as possible. He did 2 years in federal prison after he was lieutenant commander, which is a decently high rank, for just petty larceny. Their reputation was for that. And since, the global war on terror, it's been for even more nefarious things, we should say.
Well, one of the podcast clips that I watched was an interview with famous Navy SEAL murderer Eddie Gallagher. Mm-hmm. And he was on a show by these guys, the Hodge twins. It's another set of twins.
I love these guys.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yeah. And they're interviewing Eddie. And in the clip I watched, they begin the interview by being like, yo, Eddie, it's great to have you on the show, man. We heard that you had a nickname. We heard that people call you the Knife. How'd you get that nickname? And Eddie Gallagher grins and goes, some things you just don't talk about on podcasts. And they're like, that's awesome, man. And then they talked about when he was facing the murder charge for executing that BOW with a knife. And he talked about how the government wouldn't let him see his lawyer. They talked about how intensely they tried to break him. And they said that they wouldn't let him do push-ups in his cell. And the other prisoners sort of talked about there are Eddie rules and basically all of the human rights violations, which included when he asked for a melatonin, they wouldn't give him one, even though the guy in the cell next to him was being given hormones to transition. And they denied him melatonin and wouldn't let him do push-ups in his cell.
Why do you need the melatonin? You got all the date. You're in prison. What are you going to do with sleep during the day?
It's also were you using melatonin during the war? It makes you drowsy the next day.
Well, so I mean,
we should take your medal back.
Eddie Gallagher is, first of all, Eddie Gallagher. Look up any picture of him first next to his wife, but also next to anyone else who's in any branch of the armed forces. He is, I'm guessing, not an inch over 5'5". So I don't really. I mean, maybe special forces, they need like a guy to go in the vents or something like that. But his big thing beyond just like, I think he just like took shots at civilians a lot, which by the way, every fucking Navy SEAL does.
Well, like his own unit fucked with the sights on his rifle.
Yeah,
because they were tired of him just shooting people.
But there was some wounded teenage ISIS fighter that like came to, rendering medical assistance to, and he just executes the guy. And, his own fucking like squad turns on him. And it's like, you gotta be, I mean, not only do you have to be really bad, but you also have to just be like a guy that for some reason just doesn't even get along with your SEAL, also insane person teammates in any context for them to like snitch on you like that.
Well, I mean, I guess this is the interesting thing about like the world of operator media is that like they don't seem to get along with each other when they're, in country, but they seem to get along with each other even less in their sort of post-military careers. And here's the interesting thing about the Operator podcast is like, I think a large part of it is sort of marketing the global war on terror and marketing the SEALs as a brand. But like, I think another interesting aspect of this is it allows them to like basically never reassimilate to civilian life because their current career now involves them basically continuing to be Navy SEALs or just trading on these stories and secrets of their trade craft.
Yeah, it's interesting because now you can kind of just go from podcast to podcast, sort of telling your fucking story. I mean, Tim Kennedy, I think, is probably the GOAT at this. Although I think he was still actually in active service in some sort of weird advisory role for a while after his like deployments or whatever. But it's so interesting. I mean, going on the Hodge twins is really funny because like first of all, I love the Hodge twins because they're like they might like be. Like I feel like they're like severely touched.
Borderline.
Yeah.
Like they're in the borderline region.
But they're also, they kind of just go with whatever popular current there is in right-wing stuff. So they just started like hating Jews a year ago. It's kind of because Candace Owens was doing it, but they don't know like what Jews are. And so like they just say really insane shit. But they always have Nick Fuentes on. They're probably the worst interviewers in human history because
that is a phenomenon I've noticed with like people who are too stupid to like properly be anti-Semitic. That's why we're seeing so many memes where it's like pictures of Hasids and it's like we run the world and it's like those guys don't.
They don't run the world. You know what I mean?
Those guys aren't even allowed to smoke crack in their own house. They have to go into a tunnel.
Yeah. They have to go to Equinox to get blowjobs. They can't even do it. Yeah, it's but yeah, I mean, no, I mean, Candace Owens is probably the best at it because she was doing like mid 18th century European anti-Semitism. She was like really kind of going in the stacks for it. But like all of these guys kind of just like, I think they sort of, their big plug would be like Rogan or something. But now that we have Vigilance Elite there, like there's a sort of center of gravity for them to kind of all go on to. But they hate each other more than anybody that I've ever seen. And there's all these different rivalries. Like there's the different SEALs guys who don't like each other because everyone has to kind of be the big dog. And like, obviously everyone's kind of lying about probably not committing war crimes, or sometimes they say that they did. But like about just their service record in general. And so they kind of have to beef with each other. So if anyone ever tries to like correct a record with them, it's like, no, he just fucking hates me. He's a hater or whatever.
I mean, like it's just like it's the streamer thing. It's like streamers are constantly bickering with each other. Just more content about debunking the lies or personality of another streamer. And now this is our elite armed forces are getting in on this.
Well, I mean, Sean Ryan, I feel like is the breakout star of the Operator podcast. Dog. And I love Sean Ryan because first of all, he interviews his guests. They're like sitting 15 feet away from him. So I have no idea how he hears.
They'll have restraining orders against him.
He's in a giant room, and they always he gives people gummies because he makes they all, of course, have a million branded.
Robert O'Neill, the boy, the wannabe boy rapist. He has a legal cannabis company in New York State now.
There we fucking go. There we go.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's called Shooter Hybrid.
I love that. Well,
Yeah,
it's interesting. I feel like
he says cannabis is good for turning the noise off.
Dude,
turning the
smoking on that Robert O'Neill.
Yeah.
That's the kind of shit that causes people to hit their wives and stuff. But it's all of these guys have their different products, and Sean Ryan's is gummy worms or gummy bears, and so he always like really seriously hands someone over like, "Oh, you're coming to the studio, time to get some gummy worms." But he's kind of Rogan like in that he goes, "Huh," to like everything everyone says, even if it's contradictory to the previous guest that he had on. And the business model of a lot of these guys, like the Sean Ryan level guys, not like kind of low rent ones, is that you actually pay to go on the show. I don't know for sure that Sean Ryan does it, but a lot of these people do it. And or you either pay to go on the show, or if you're like a really good guest, they'll pay you to go on the show. And I'm like, that is
right, like Aaron Rodgers.
Dude, we got to start doing that shit. Charging some fucking Jacobin writer like $75 to come on Chapo.
Well, that's the DJ Academics model.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's like how the DJ Vlad and Academics make money, and like that's why. I mean, I assume Vlad is paying Boozy at this point. Yeah. But whenever you see a guy who's on Vlad and it's like just the most like a bus stop liar, like a guy who should not be interviewed by anyone and is like, I was into mafia, I killed 1,000 people. That's a guy who has like some self-published book coming out and he like got together like $10,000 to give DJ Vlad.
By the way, Felix, have you ever seen what DJ Vlad looks like? Because he's never on camera.
He looks awesome.
You can see why his interview technique involves him only seeing the person he's interviewing.
Yeah, he's more glamorous than anyone he's talking to.
He looks like he would be Eric Adams' advisor on anti-Semitism.
Like if the movie Idiocracy took place in Israel, he would be the president.
Yeah. I was looking at the Jack Carr seal merch last night because obviously there's the famous tactical screwdriver.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at the tactical screwdriver for $325.
I mean,
yeah.
It's so kind of like amazing to see these guys endorse products because gun or it's not even gun stuff, but like operator style things. Everything has a case. Everything also has, for some reason, like moldy or whatever fucking straps. Like at some point, these people would have to be weighed down by like 500, not only the products themselves, but like individual cases for everything that they have on them. Like if you're in like whatever, the fucking Navy SEALs or whatever, wouldn't you just have the metal part from like a screwdriver? So I think that's what I had, is I just had like not even the handle. We just had like the little piece of
the
tape
Phillips
around.
head.
Like around the actual head of it that you need, if you ever needed to use it. But like, I mean, I think one of the best career paths you can get in America is be in the Navy SEALs, make up some shit that you did, or not even make up some shit that you just be like, I was in the Navy SEALs. I can't talk about it. I'm a quiet professional. And then get out there and just start selling stuff. It's like, it is really like, it's almost like an entry level. It's like going to college to become a salesman.
Yeah, all of them have CBDs. All of them have CBDs. The CBD thing really started under Rogan's auspices when he had like the progenitors of Operator Media come on, because they made to this day, it still makes me laugh. They say that CBD is good for PTSD, which is like, if it is, then they've been lying to us about PTSD. If you have anything that can be cured by CBD, it's fucking made up.
Yeah,
because it doesn't.
It cures
melatonin is stronger. Yeah. I remember being like, when we were visiting LA once, I drank a CBD water. I drank like a liter of it, and I felt like I could operate machinery better than usual.
You drink a liter of CBD water?
Yeah, I was curious. I love hydration.
I also think CBD is fake, but it's funny. It's funny to not know, but still drink a liter of it. I respect that. I'm trying to figure out, because I have watched a lot of operator stuff. I don't know if maybe we did an episode about Sean Ryan or something. For some reason, I watched like a bunch of Sean Ryan stuff at one point, and like through that, I really started getting recommended all these kind of different podcasts of people. And that was also during the Tim Kennedy cancellation, sort of when he got canceled for whatever his book Red, White, and Shoot or whatever the fuck it's called.
So I was so happy at Tim Kennedy's downfall, not because of like, you know, the U.S. empire or stuff, we're Democrats, but he, the author of some of the worst fights I've ever seen in the UFC.
Oh yeah, because he was a fight. He also went to Colonia Dignidad to search for Hitler in a show he did called Hunting Hitler for the History Channel.
Tim Kennedy's really interesting. Yeah, he was, before the UFC just fully committed to like no one can be bigger than the brand, they pushed him a lot. They used to do these events called UFC Fight for the Troops, where they would have like the few fighters on the roster who were troops, like Brian Stan and Tim Kennedy, and they would match them up against like the worst guys that could still be in the UFC.
Like tomato cans.
Yeah, they would put them up against guys who were like
fighting for a meal.
But they would be like, okay, so you can leave rehab 3 weeks early to be there? Okay, great. And they would just get like brutally knocked out by the heroes. And Tim Kennedy was on almost all those cards, and the UFC pushed the fuck out of him. But it's so funny that he's such a liar, because it's like Green Beret, UFC fighter, those are the things people lie about.
Yeah.
But he did those, and he's still like, yeah, and I threw the greatest grenade toss in Army history. It's so, he's the craziest person.
He said he threw 50 grenades.
How do you carry those?
That's the obvious
over the course of his career.
But it's like, no.
Oh,
one of the main things that like people took umbrage with his book was he sort of tells this anecdote where it's been a little while since I heard this, so I might be slightly misremembering, but he's like outside some house that they're taking fire from, and he just throws in like dozens of grenades to it. And obviously, I can't remember where it took place, but it's either Afghanistan or Iraq. You know, he's hot. You know, we're not exactly talking made of the sturdiest stuff here. That would just that would level the house. But also, you just don't have, like, what do you have, like a rucksack full of grenades? Obviously, you don't. And so I think it was like, that was one of the main things that people were like, what are you talking about? And then through that, it was sort of discovered that he kind of tells these really like storybook, or like really like it's like Jason Statham level, like war film kind of anecdotes about his time. And it's like, so obviously not true. You know, he's running out of ammo while, holding off, Taliban from a position, and, he's engaging people in hand-to-hand combat under mortar fire. It's all things that just kind of like, really beggar belief. But I think he was counting on nobody reading his book.
Yeah, well, Brace, the thing that kicked off a lot of this in the operator podcaster sphere, which I have worked really hard to cleanse my algorithm of that. It was hard.
Yeah.
I had to refine some of my favorite Axis of Resistance songs from 12 years ago, where the channel still miraculously survived. But the thing that really, the first podcast that like they took like hours and deconstructed his book, and admittedly, they did a great job. Like, these guys should have just gone directly into content. I forgot the name of their show, but shout out. They'll be joining our podcast network. They said the thing that they went, okay, this guy's a fucking liar, is that in his story with the grenades, he asks the lieutenant, hey, can I throw these grenades? And apparently that's not something that these guys do.
Yeah.
Is raise your hand and go, can I throw a grenade, please?
Yeah.
Have you done your push-ups?
I'm remembering that. I'm remembering that now. I mean, it was just so like, it was such an unbelievable story. I'm looking at his website right now, and it's called rangerup.com, and it's a t-shirt website, obviously. Yeah. And Ranger Up was when the UFC had sponsors besides like Reebok and Monster. Ranger Up was a big sponsor, and they would sponsor guys who like did 6 years in the army and then had to leave for scaring their girlfriend. But they did a lot of like very South Parky skits. It's kind of amazing. Oh wait, was that like with that guy Matt something? He was like a Black Rifle kind of coffee guy, but he was like an Epic Bacon.
Oh yeah, the guy from Range 13.
Range 13 is what I'm thinking of. Yeah, not Ranger Up.
I know who you're talking. Yeah,
Matt Best. Yes.
Yeah, Matt Best. Matt Best is the co-founder of Ranger Up.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Okay, well, Tim Kennedy is a, I guess, some kind of relationship with them. But I'm looking at the categories, and it's like caffeine and hate, whiskey and bad decisions,
Fuck
the
off.
black flag, get fit or die, hunting, fishing, and outdoors.
Yeah, it's very like when you look at Ranger Up and you look at Tim Kennedy too, you get the sense of, even if he wasn't caught out lying, the thing that really is, really like a thorn in his side is that this is all antiquated now. This type of thing, the sort of anchorman conservative, where you're like, I think communists and Nazis are both bastard sons of bitches, and now it's like that those guys thought they were going to have a renaissance in like 2021 because of Brandonization. And like briefly when conservatives thought they were getting rid of Trump, they probably got some false hope. But then now, like, these guys have to see the White House like every day posting like, yo, follow our friend, Chinese people blowing up. Check out, everyone, follow Friday. It's videos of Mexicans being beheaded. And they have to realize that it's like, you can't be one of those guys where it's like,
yeah, it seems like they've
being a
picked
racist
side in World War II retroactively.
Yeah, being a racist is just as un-American.
Yeah, now it's like you'd have to post a picture of the DD guys and be like, they didn't do this for Muslims.
Yeah. Or like, these are Jewish slaves.
Yeah. Which, God, I wish, could you imagine the strapping 19-year-olds?
Oh my God.
Come to daddy. I'd be sitting on the cliffs. Come up here. Bakabazi.
I would be like the greatest slave owner in history because of how big of a fan I am of Call of Duty and Band of Brothers. They would be better treated than me.
Oh, you're talking about our World War II Goy slaves.
I'm not talking about our new guys. Fuck them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, our new guy, I always think about that too. Like whenever I see like a guy like Richie Torres, I'm like, dude, I should be able to get him to like get my laundry or something. Like, it's like, I don't understand. Like, whatever. Like, I love Israel. Can you pick me up like some little bit of sparkling water, please, and bring it over? Like, it's anybody who's like really like philosemitic. Yeah, I was about to call it a hebephile. Anybody who's a little philosemitic like that, I'm like, you should. It's fucked up that you're only philosemitic for like if I like Israel. Like, you should be philosemitic for me no matter what. Like, if you're like a big Israel guy like that, you should just like, you are my slave.
You should have to be Brace's human ottoman. Where you just put your feet up on their back.
Exactly.
Brace, I love what you've been calling the Gentile writers for the Free Press, Barry's Boyslaves.
They are. Can you imagine?
It is like that. It is like that. Like, my favorite guy on Twitter, the Misfit Patriot.
Yeah, I love the Misfit Patriot. He's kind of a Ranger Up t-shirt guy.
Well, that's what I love about him is he knows that he has to toe the line where he does everything to look like a veteran, but he doesn't explicitly state it. But he's just banking on the fact that people will assume it. But this guy is like, he like retiles people's bathrooms. And he lives in one of the Carolinas, has never worn anything but hoodies for the last 40 years. Pure Goy slave. And all, like, you go to his feed, it's like Richie Torres. 90% of the posts are like, pathetic, woke right, Israel hating anti-Semites, the scum of the earth. They're worse than commies. He's always talking about Israel. He's always talking about how awesome Israel is and how he wants to like deport all the Israel haters. And it's like, I think the same thing where it's like, if I told you to kill yourself, you would have to do it. Like, you should have to do it.
Yes. And it's ridiculous that they don't. I mean, it's this whole new, I mean, even with Barry and stuff, like Barry White's, like, I'm like, give me money. Like, give me some fucking money, lady. Yeah. Like, but she's too busy, you know what I'm saying, with Brett. But, I mean,
I love that.
According to the rumor mill. Do you think it's real?
No, hell no.
I think it's fucking real.
I just can't. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's gross enough to be true.
That's as Elon Musk says, the craziest thing is always the most likely to happen. Or what? No, it's the funniest thing is. I don't know. I love Musk, but like Musk Musk is a Ranger Up t-shirt guy. Musk is like a whiskey and bad decisions kind of t-shirt guy in a sense, right? Like he wore that I'm doing side quest t-shirt, but even he has the good sense to be like, I'm kind of a Nazi. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like he's so invested in appearing cool that like he would be doing that, but he gets up there and he's like, yeah, let's kill all the Latinos.
Exactly.
For the H-1Bs.
And it's interesting because I feel like so much of the podcast sphere of these guys is like stuck in this like GWAT operator kind of realm, which is so antiquated at this point. Like, where are our Nazi where are like, you know, our I guess who's that one guy, Sean Gage or something Gage?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I feel like it's sort of impossible, at least if you're not. There's a market for guys who are like, I was a Marine and so I'm tough, but then I realized I was like fighting for like, you know, Klaus Schwab and Jews.
Yeah.
But you can't be like, you can't still like, you know, let's honor these heroes who are still enlisted. Like you can't have proximity to it. And I kind of do think that like even Republicans in the military trend like less towards that stuff than like non-military Republicans. Like the military, it's like the average member of the military is more of an institutionalist than really almost just about anyone at this point in America. Because they're the last institution that like
the people like and
like pretend works. Yeah.
Yeah, but also like the military is also, I think, much a lot more like you're just more integrated than anyone else. You know what I mean? And so I think if
you're like a sort of like alt-right white supremacist, like neo-Nazi who reveres Trump as the Führer, and you had to watch Trump's birthday victory parade and see all the troops marching past, I gotta say, like, how do you take this seriously in your head? Because they didn't all look like Aryan super soldiers.
Right.
I know, but they have their kind of ways of getting around that now because they started making black and Mexican Nazis.
That's true.
That is true. Like a lot of Nazis are, I don't know, Dominican.
Yeah, no,
like
I mean,
Mark Zuckerberg.
We're. I mean, yeah. But like, how much do you think his t-shirts weigh? That's always what I wonder when I see Zuckerberg. I'm like, he looks like he's wearing the heaviest t-shirt in the world.
They're like stab vests.
Yeah,
Zuckerberg. He's got to start wearing much tighter jeans if he wants to go full Dominican.
But I mean, I think that like Dominican. Our big national project really is building Black Hitler. However that might come. And Kanye, yes, you were trying to do it, but you came too early. And plus you're still in league with Dov Charney. And you know, he is one of the Yahuds. And so we're going to have somebody in like 10, 12 years that is going to be incredible. Back to operators a little bit. Obviously, I don't think I'm in, the wrong company to say this, but like, doing a podcast is like gay. And so it's like, and it's just, it is kind of in the pejorative sense, but it is just kind of astonishing that like, that's the number one, the job that you used to get was you wrote a book. And now, you're going to write a book maybe, or like have someone writing a book, but like, it's like the number one job after getting out of the, whatever JSOC kind of shit you're in is to start a podcast. And it's like, I mean, I like doing a podcast, but I'm a guy in his mid 30s who has brown hair who lives in Brooklyn. And it's kind of, it's kind of the number one job you'd have here. But
well, it beats like, working outside or in an office.
I thought that during the Tim Kennedy ones, and that algorithm, I don't know if it did the same for you. It led me to like a billion other operator podcasts that all get 300,000 views. And it's the only thing they talk about is like, well, we're not an anti-Jocko show, but we hate the guy who runs a lot. Like they're all doing like drama podcasts about each other where they're trying to prove the other is lying.
Yes.
Or like that they let good SEALs die. That's the thing with Jocko. And it is like, shouldn't you be killing each other?
Wait, did Jocko Willink let good Navy SEALs die?
I don't know. I
'Cause
don't
if so, you
I'm
have my.
sure-
I'm subscribing to the Patreon, my brother. You know, top tier.
That would be the only thing that I like about him, because I hate his. I saw this great Rogan clip where I forgot whose show this was on, but it was Rogan had Everlast on, and Rogan was like, "You have to check out this speech by Jocko. It's called Good," and it's Jocko going, "This guy came to me and said his car broke down. I said, good. Now you have another obstacle to cut over. So you
I've
can
seen
come
this.
to the gym." And then Everlast is like, "Joe, that's great. I love you, brother. But my daughter has fucking brain cancer. How the fuck you gonna tell me good?" And Joe's like, "I don't like, not for that, but it is what it like." If I even thought that was a bit set up, I would be like, Joe Rogan's the funniest guy alive. But
So-
unfortunately,
Did you? So I watched last night a like long podcast episode of some guys. Actually, to be honest, like fairly drama free, like fact based cancellation of I think it was Jocko Willink, but it was like of a bunch of Navy SEALs that they were like had to be along. It was like regular Marines kind of just like talking shit about these Navy SEALs that they had to be alongside in Iraq. And they sounded horrible to deal with. And they're referencing these guys' books, and they're like, yeah, you know, they're talking about how, you know, they were loaning out MP5s and going on like operations with us, and like it just didn't happen. Like nothing like that happened. They just kept killing random civilians all of the time, and it was like it made our job really difficult, blah blah blah. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, I guess it's kind of funny. Like, if you're a Navy SEAL, you can just kind of say whatever, and you'd be like, yeah, only like 5 other guys are there, and they're all also lying.
Well,
But one of the guys that they're talking about, one of the guys that they're talking about is Chris Kyle. And when we have the Hakeem Jeffries, no more elections, the Democrats, we are in control forever, dictatorship, we are busting the dude who smoked Chris Kyle out of prison, and we are making him. First of all, we're having him execute all of these guys, but we're going to feed him Pete Hegseth. I mean, how incredible. And obviously, I don't condone violence in any way, shape, or form, even in history, even when Jesus Christ came back. Actually, he didn't do
any violence.
He didn't do any violence, but he thought about it. So I condone the thoughts that he had.
Well, he flipped over the money changers table, which I'm against.
But obviously, I'm against it too, because like, oh, cool. So they just pick it up. How much of an asshole would you have to be to go into the temple, which, by the way, biggest, nicest building, probably like the only real building. So these guys are like, oh, the currency traders, by the way, which is not, Forex is a real job. And
it's not usury.
Exactly. They're fucking money changers. You go in there, you flip over the table, and now what? The guy picks up some fucking Roman quarters or whatever, and like, cool. Now you're Jesus Christ standing over some poor Jew, you know, picking up his quarters. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Christ. Was I not supposed to do that? Would you rather have me do that outside where it's probably raining, because the climate was different back then, because that was before Greta. And it was just, I mean, that seemed to me totally. And so, yeah, I'm sorry. Jesus Christ, you come into my fucking place of work, you flip over my table of money. When we're voting on whether to kill you later, my hand's going up. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. It's like, you're starting the thing that's competing with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you're the guy who started Burger King and you go into McDonald's and you're like, there's no more ice cream machine. Fuck you. It's against the rules. Not McDonald's, but at Burger King.
Yes.
And also it's like the temple was like the only place to hang out back then.
That's what I'm saying.
Of course, there's
it's a useful service to have at the place where everyone gathers and socializes, and sort of a community.
Oh, I'm sorry.
hub.
I made my pilgrimage from my little town that took 3 days, and I got to the temple. I need to spend some money in fucking Jerusalem. Time to go to the money changers. No, sorry. Jesus Christ was just here. He says he can't do that. He says he can just make some fish for you. It's like, what are you talking about, dude?
Raw fish and wine.
Yeah,
my
delicious.
favorite dinner in the desert.
I'm sorry. If Jesus Christ really wanted to freak people out back then, he should have turned those fucking those loaves of bread or whatever into hamburgers, or like something some people had never seen before, into McDonald's. And he should have I mean, because I support Jesus Christ, but I'm just like,
thank you.
I think that he could have gone about that better, and that wouldn't have happened to him at the end of that.
Yeah, but if he conducted himself better, Islam would have made him the Messiah instead of just a prophet.
Yeah.
And they respect him, but he really did not do his legacy any favors.
I mean,
what he did to that check cashing place.
There's a reason Islam is like.
You only had you only had a couple Mickey Mouse miracles. You know,
the miracles do suck. Honestly,
no, miracles are crazy, dude. Are you kidding? Oh
no, I think miracles
suck.
No, I said his miracles suck.
Oh yeah,
compared to other stuff that's in the Bible. Like, sorry.
I mean, there's a reason Islam has the Mahdi before Jesus Christ comes back, right? It's like a little bit of like, oh, we're gonna have someone else take the reins for a little bit till you get here. You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's like, hey, I like you. You're a prophet, but we're friends.
Yeah.
It's not going farther than that.
I'm just these guys are talking about Chris Kyle, like blowing just random people away. And it does kind of make me, I think Chris Kyle would probably be like a high ranking DOD guy by now. Like he would have gotten appointed by Trump in his first term. Like, because Hegseth is one of these guys.
He didn't do 1/1000th of the shit that Chris Kyle did in his career, and he's the head of the Pentagon right now.
And Hegseth was in the National Guard. That always drives me crazy. Like when these like operators like finally a real warrior.
He's a war fighter.
Hegseth. Yeah, and it's like he came to the war wearing chinos.
Yeah,
like they didn't even give him real like war fighter pants.
Well,
he didn't even have cargo pants. They were just regular pants.
Yeah.
The terminology, speaking of warfighter, the terminology that they use on all these podcasts is so like arcane to me that it's like, because they just use words like battle space, which I guess just
that
means,
one's
like,
so stupid.
I mean, I thought you guys already had an area of operations, but I guess it's the battle space now. But like it is so I don't really know. I kind of wonder when the switch was, because I feel like a lot of like everyone kind of knows the World War II or like the Vietnam era ones, like GI or whatever. Like they were all kind of like slang back then. But now I feel like there have been, because I know this, like in the military is like a lot of like presentations and PowerPoints and stuff like that. And I feel like that's such a large part of the army machine now that they just kind of had to keep inventing this terminology, and it's become so bloated that these people don't even speak identifiable English anymore.
Yeah.
But the term from soldier to war fighter, I really don't understand, because are you a war fighter if we're technically not really at war anymore? You know, like is the average Marine a war fighter? You're kind of just like a guy who's going to, be in the Marines for 4 years, maybe OD on fentanyl once or twice, and then be at 100% disability for the rest of your life somehow because you're hearing loss. Well, and it's like, I don't really get it.
Well, no, I mean, I think it speaks to sort of an ideology or a kind of spiritual mission that the people who invoke it are trying to sort of, I don't know, bring into being, which is that war is just like a natural state of existence, and it's a state of existence that should exist all the time, even if America is not technically declared war on a country or even fighting one. But war is like, it's like a psychic state that you have to be in at all times, especially on the home front. And this is the point I want to get with I think all the operator culture and the operator podcasts. I mean, like they're the people who do it, who have been in the Navy SEALs, but like obviously there's 10 guys in the Navy SEALs. So their audience are just they're regular Jodies. they're guys on the home front.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating to me about it is like whether it's through the merch or through all of the kind of the tactical, sort of jive that they're always talking. I think it's about like inculcating in their listenership a sense that you too are a war fighter, or like that, or that America itself is a battle space, your neighborhood, your house, your car. And that's why a lot of this stuff is about like trying to sell combat training and tactics to people who just have regular jobs. I mean, like, and one of these guys, to their credit, people got mad at him because he said, like, I'm not going to waste my time teaching Navy SEAL training techniques to people who are just civilians because it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Brace, what you said about their terminology, it reminds me of like an older thing that we talked about with like cop American English, where it's like an individualistic style of person perpendiculated himself at like the increased use of the term individual from 2010 to now is a sign of that. But the operator specific language that I think Will is right in that for a misfit patriot type of guy who just if you are canny enough to ask him point blank, were you in the military? They'll go, no, but I knew the guys who were.
I fought the ideological war on the home front.
But they're doing everything and now saying everything to make it sound like they're that type of guy. Because the thing that's replaced the sort of like epic bacon, whiskey and bad decisions conservatives are the dudes rock and like Christ is king type like slop accounts. And they always post stuff where like, you're a guy when you go to a restaurant and figure out what the kill zone is.
Well, yeah, the last thing I wanted to bring up though is the guy who did like the 2-hour video about how to hold a gun. And it's all
I
like
hate gun guys. I'm sorry.
CQC, CQB, like close quarter combat techniques. And this is all about like how to, hold, discharge, and use a firearm in close quarters, like in a house or indoor spaces. And like, the utility of this training for a Navy SEAL is obvious, but like for everyone else, like if you're in a situation where like there's that much gunfire going off in a room that you're in, I don't think training is going to help you. And like my attitude here is like, why would I train for a situation like that? Because if I'm in a situation like that, so many things have conspired to go wrong disastrously that like I don't think it's a point. I don't think there's any point in trying to prepare for an outcome like that.
It's so stupid because these guys always come up with these like crazy. I mean, there's this obvious thing with like people, gun guys, that they really just want to be home invaded, which is like not something that happens very often. And they have that sort of famous clip of this guy being like, my bedroom door, that's my hard point. And it's like, what are you talking about? That's a doorway.
Who are you, Osama bin Laden?
Exactly. But the real thing is if someone comes in your house, just have a shotgun. Like that's just like, it just shoots a bunch of little things. So you don't have to shoot that well. Any other thing, I mean, this kind of goes back to
with
like
a shotgun,
the
you can, like, if someone's close enough, they can grab the barrel. Then what do?
You shoot it while they're grabbing the barrel. That'll go, wow.
Yeah, they'll be like Tom from Tom and Jerry.
Yeah. Oh my God. The barrel will sort of go, it'll burn their hand to it. And then you can sort of swing them down like a club. I mean, so I kept a 38 special for, it by my bed. And that's because it's a big ass bullet. And so if someone's in my house, what do you live in a fucking, what do you live in a Mar-a-Lago? If someone's in your house, they're like 5 feet away from you. Just shoot as many times as possible, as quickly as possible. And you'll probably hit them. The reality is that when someone starts shooting you, when there's a scary thing happening, if you're normal, you get the craziest boner of all time right when it starts. And granted, you're at home and in your robe. And so it's probably kind of chill that's happening because it's like not a crazy place for that to be happening, but like
it messes up the fit of my kimono.
For me it only really fits when I'm doing that. But
that's a war kimono.
It's my war kimono. But the reality is most of these guys kind of lost on the battlefield to little like explosives buried in dirt that their cars ran over, and so it's like you can do the CQB training all you want. I mean, really, if you want to defend against someone to come to your house, hide an IED in your front door. Anybody who comes in is dead.
Fuck a ring camera.
Brace, I saw, like, again, one of these guys, a dastardly character who wore a newsboy cap to his own wedding. And it was
brother.
One of those like people who's like they got fooled by Tulsi Gabbard.
Oh, this was the guy who was like, I left my arm in Iraq. Like, what have you done?
Well, no, he was the person who's saying Iran hasn't like done anything to us.
Oh, yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Why did Tulsi betray me? And the guy goes, oh yeah, buddy. I lost an arm because of Iran when I was invading Iraq. And it's like, okay, well, like by operator rules, you should just like how Misfit Patriot should be our slave. You should Iran should have the podcast.
Yeah,
they own you guys.
They own
those. They're the reason that you have to take CBD. I don't fucking get this. It's like we came in there with our helicopters and our fucking close air support and our vehicles and our armor and our superior arms, and they, you know how sneaky they are? They put explosives on the road that were vaguely the same color as the road.
And
that's so unfair.
I say this as somebody who stepped on a mine before. Just don't step on it. You know what I mean? I'm just like, just make sure you kind of know where you're going, you know, and it didn't go off, thank God. But you know, just don't step on it. I mean, it's I just don't understand. Like I understand. I've always said that the reason that suicides are so high in the veteran community is because war is so fun that you'll just never do anything that fun again afterwards. So you're like, well, maybe heaven will rule because Jesus will be there.
Valhalla.
But
you have to keep
Valhalla, exactly. But yeah, I'm just like, I don't really understand these guys because they seem to hate everyone in America. They seem to hate the army because it's woke or what. I think maybe now it's not woke anymore. And they also hate the guys that they're and they don't really like each other either. It's like, well, you kind of just wasted your life then, no? You know, I mean, it seems like all for naught. And that's what because it was all for naught, right? Like, I mean, if you were a guy who fought in Afghanistan, guess what? You fucking straight lost that war. I mean, there's just no. There's like in Iraq, people were like, you know, we won the war, but you know, we lost the occupation. With Afghanistan, you lost the war. The other side won it, and now has also all of your operator equipment too, which is so funny. It's so funny. Yeah, just take it.
I love the guys who are like, we're at our troop bar and grill. We served 13 beers for the 13 guys that died for Brandon in Afghanistan. And I think, like, what do you do with those beers after you take your video? Like, do you give it to their kids? Like, here, your dad
donate
can't be here. You're going to drink this beer
Project.
for him.
You drink all 13 and then set up that fucking Sniffies. Because Sniffy's at fucking 29 Palms, man. Check that shit out right now. Go on right now. Check it out. It's crazy.
All right, guys. We got to wrap it up there. We've gone long today, but I want to thank Brace for hanging out with us today, and I would like to remind our listeners once again that pre-orders for Year Zero, the Chapo Comics anthology, are live now at badegg.co. So get in on that now. Get some more
at baddragon.com.
Well, we have a similar promotion running on that site. If you'd like to get a sort of Cthulhu themed dildo, but if you'd like to have the comics that the Cthulhu themed dildo is drawing inspiration from, go to badegg.co to pre-order Year Zero, a Chapo Comics anthology. That does it for us today. Thanks again to Brace. Everybody go like and subscribe.